I finally received my Hyper Megatech Capcom Super Pocket handheld that I pre-ordered off Amazon for $60 many moons ago. Very, very excited to receive this and check it out because I have covered some Evercade products on this channel in the past. This handheld does come with 12 built-in Capcom games, as well as it has the ability, there's a card slot where you can play the same Evercade cartridges that you've played, that you've purchased, to use with the original white Evercade handheld shown here, which honestly I thought was okay. It definitely had some issues with the screen and the D-pad and the sound, like not that great, right? The Evercade EXP was a huge improvement, adding Wi-Fi capabilities, firmware updates over the air, improved hardware, improved screen, improved D-pad, improved buttons, and honestly, I play this one more than the white one. I don't think I've touched a white one in a long time before filming this video. So taking a peek here inside of the Hyper Megatech, you get a nice little flyer reminding you that, hey, we got Duke Nukem coming out soon, as well as a quick little guide sheet on what all the buttons are on the device. Here's the device right here, but before we dive into it, let's see what else is in the box. We should have a charging cable. Yes, we do. We have our USB to USB-C charging cable. Nice that they provided you one. Now, keep in mind, this unit does not have Wi-Fi, does not have internet capabilities. That's one reason why this is cheaper than the other two Evercade handhelds. When it comes to the buttons on the face of this thing actually feel really good. They feel the same quality as the Evercade EXP. The D-pad feels good, but it doesn't for some reason feel as good as the EXP. The shoulder buttons on the back of the little mini console here are an adjustment for me, because you would assume those would be placed at the top of the device. That way, you know, just like holding a joystick or a controller in your hands, you're used to reaching up top for the shoulder buttons, but then again, you wouldn't be able to get the cartridge slot in and out. There's also the volume up down on the back, and here's a good comparison of the size of all three handhelds. You'll notice that the Evercade EXP is overall the largest handheld, and you'll notice that this Capcom Super Pocket's got the smallest screen on it. That's right. It's got a 2.8-inch IPS screen compared to the other two, which have larger screens on it. It does provide 4 hours of battery life. On the bottom of the handheld, you'll see the USB-C charging port, an on-off toggle switch, and a headphone jack. Nice to see they still kept the headphone jack, even though they were trying to make this the most cost-effective Evercade handheld out there. All you gotta do is flick that switch, turn it on, and boom! You get the Hyper Megatech logo, here's some audio, and you'll end up seeing the same Evercade user interface once you select your languages, and if you want to have easy mode or normal mode for the built-in games. Of course, we're gonna go with normal mode, but you could always toggle and switch that to easy mode in the settings in the main menu, which I'll show you later. Now, if you have the Evercade EXP or the Evercade VS console, you're going to be pretty familiar with how the user interface works on the Super Hyper Megatech Capcom Super Pocket. They also have a Taito version of this as well. And this has got 12 built-in games. You don't need a cartridge for this. And it's got some good ones from Capcom, your 1942s, 1943s, Bionic Commando, Captain Commando. You can hit the menu button, go down to the settings. And as we take a tour through the settings, you could adjust the display. And just like the Evercade EXP and VS, they give you pixel perfect options, full screen options. You get different shading effects, different scan lines. Nice to see that they kept that in there. Again, remembering that they were trying to get as much of this stuff as, toned down as possible to hit that price point. Select your languages, and right there, once again, you could adjust the difficulty if you wanted to go back to easy mode on the built-in games. You can hit the menu button again to navigate down. If you don't have a cartridge inserted, well, guess what you see? A whole bunch of highlights and ads for existing collections you could go out and purchase. So there are like ads included if you don't have a cartridge. Once you insert a cartridge, the cartridge menu will only show you what's in that cartridge. And of course, Capcom's got the built-in games. Let's go ahead and check out how this screen looks, as well as test one of the games and see how everything sounds. So when it comes to 11 out of the 12 games, the included screen, buttons, controls, audio, all sound and play great. Here was my biggest issue, and this was very disappointing. The shoulder buttons, in my opinion, are a big miss when it comes to Street Fighter 2, or if you're really going to have to play any game that requires you to use the shoulder buttons. Evercade has got so many cartridges out there, over 500 games in their library. Some of their games actually use 6 buttons, actually use the shoulder buttons. It's very, very hard to work this thing and try and hit your moves. It just feels so awkward and uncomfortable to play on. As I try to figure out, like, okay, down back and then trying to hit the button in the back, you notice my right thumb isn't on the buttons. I'm trying to hit the shoulder button to do the spinning wheel kick, and it's not happening. And then I switch over trying to do the fireballs, and I'm trying to do, when you're trying to do down forward punch, or, quarter circle toward punch, and then using your index finger to try to hit a shoulder button, it just feels so unnatural when you try to throw a Hadouken. Like, in my opinion, the shoulder buttons the placement stinks. I understand why they're there, so you could fit cartridges in this thing and expand the library, but they're in such a bad position that when it comes to playing any 6-button game, you're going to end up getting frustrated. And what's funny about this system is you can do hot swaps while the unit is still powered on. You could easily take cartridges in, take cartridges out while they're plugged into the unit and while the unit is powered on. You don't need to turn it off, turn it on like we had to do with consoles in the past. You don't have to worry about anything being wrecked. But you could swap in any of your Evercade carts and boom, you have access to playing a whole bunch of other games. And that, of course, is the appeal of Evercade. You could buy preloaded handhelds, Ambernick handhelds, get preloaded images online, have a handheld that's got thousands and thousands and thousands of games. But what Evercade does, as always, is they try to sell nostalgia, get you to collect physical cartridges, along with clamshells, along with full color instruction booklets included with their games. That's always been their core customer and a target customer. And if that's not you, then this isn't for you. So I have to remind myself when I'm going to be playing on this thing that if I'm going to use it, I'm probably going to want to stick to arcade or console games that don't need to use 6 or 8 buttons to function. Because minus that awkward placement of the shoulder buttons and how awkward it is trying to play like fighting games on this thing, I can't tell you to run off and buy this to go play Street Fighter, but a ton of the other stuff you own is going to be fully compatible, a ton of the other cartridges, and probably a great experience with this thing. If I had to choose between all three, I would save my money and get the Evercade EXP. It's the best of all worlds, but if you're looking for a cost-effective solution, something smaller, something cheaper, that way you can just get into the Evercade ecosystem and start collecting all these carts, because let's be honest, it becomes an addiction, well then maybe the Hyper Mega Tech is for you, because this Capcom Super Pocket was only $60 versus $130. Affiliate links are in the video description below in case if you want to order one of these for $60 off of Amazon. They're shipping now to folks. Definitely let me know what you think about this review. Do me a favor, give me your thoughts, feedback, reactions below. Give us a thumbs up on the way out. And as always, my dudes, thank you for subscribing.